This video is brought to you by Game Maker, the free, fast, and easy-to-use 2D game engine that helps power modern classics like Undertale, Hotline Miami, and Hyper Light Drifter. Starter templates, official asset bundles, and a wealth of tutorials are available to help bring your ideas to life. And you can export and share your game for free on all non-console platforms. But you don't have to take my word for it, I'm just some jerk. We have an actual bona fide Game Maker on hand.
Oh shit, that's me. Yes, I've been using Game Maker for a long time. It's probably the most powerful and easiest to use engine for making 2D games out there, suitable for both amateurs and hardcore coders, and with all the Steam and console integration stuff for when you're ready to start monetizing your hobbies. I used it to make my recently released game, Starstruck Vagabond, which has already delighted thousands of sci-fi cozy game aficionados, thanks to Game Maker being so bloody great.
Head on over to the Game Maker link in the description to begin your game development journey today.
Hello there, chaps and chapatas. Welcome to the Windbreakers podcast. I'm Yahtzee Croshaw. I'm joined by Frost and Marty as always.
Love ciabatta.
Marty back from his big slack-off week last time.
It was incredible. I went to a place called Punta Cana.
Oh, nice. Is that the
My
point
Spanish is very bad, let me tell you.
Is that point of Cana? Yeah.
The point of Cana. It was great.
Oh, does that mean place where the fat twat goes?
Yeah, and that was me. They let me in. It was very nice of them.
But anyway, enough banter. This week we're talking about endings. No particular reason. I suppose I was left a little blue-balled by Flintlock last week because the fucking game crashed before the ending. Anything in particular inspire this topic, Marty?
Just always thinking about death. Always thinking about the end of our time on this mortal coil.
Jesus.
And so I like thinking about which endings worked for me. Which is our good friend Solid Snake there, or Naked Snake over there in the corner, and which endings didn't work for me, and why certain endings work and certain endings don't.
Well, this is a topic I've covered before in Semi-Ramblomatic, of course, when I was talking about American Arcadia, which is the last time I felt a game's ending really made me go, yes, satisfied. I will now sit back and enjoy my credits.
Jeez, that's been like a year. What about before that? What was the gap like? Before American Arcadia, what was the last satisfying ending?
Well, the reason why I felt like highlighting it, because I feel like there are so infrequently satisfying endings in video games. I mean, with the trend for live service and open world games, firstly, the live service never bloody ends, because it has to keep setting things up for the next whatever season, like Suicide Squad springs to mind. Oh. But then the trouble with open world games, as I've said frequently, is that they almost invariably have to end in such a way that you can immediately go straight back to the open world and finish off the last few side quests, which inevitably means that the ending you're given when you reach the end of the story feels like it's not wrapping things up in a satisfying way. And when you do finish like 100% completing it, there's usually not like a second ending after that. Usually it's just, well, guess we're done. Guess I'll just stop playing now. And which also feels like an anticlimax.
Yeah, I feel like both live service games and open world games like inherently have a how do we end this?
Annoyingly, that's most AAA games now.
Hey, you're not allowed to close up shop on an open world, are you?
Yeah. So tell me, as someone who's finished Shadow of the Erd Tree, how that ends.
Well, I'm not gonna just straight up spoil it, but I will say that I would despite I would say enjoying Erd Tree by and large, I thought its final boss didn't live up to some of the best final bosses in Souls history. I think like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and from everything I've seen, because I'm too scared to play it, Sekiro had these really kind of incredible final showdowns that did feel like final exams, which I'm sure is something we'll talk about with, do we think endings should sort of culminate in a final exam?
I'm not sure I'd agree. I think a lot of FromSoftware games suffer from bad ending syndrome.
Bad endings or bad last third syndromes?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a FromSoftware game whose like ending cinematic actually felt satisfying, you know? I feel like those games are all more about the journey than the end. And the final boss fights, Gwyn as like a
I
final
love
representation of the whole game.
Yeah,
Really?
you're
Dark Souls
man.
1? Yeah, I think the run up to him and everything. I think the music. I think kindling that first flame. I think that's all very exciting.
But he's just like have you learned how to parry yet? If not, oh well.
I
Boss.
mean, it's a metaphor for unplugging your dad at the end, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, old man. And that's
Yeah.
my turn to get into the machine.
It's
Better than fucking Demon Souls ending, I'll give it that.
Sure, yeah. It's just a
Where
bit
you
of a
stamp
hanging.
on a blob for a few minutes and then arbitrarily pick an ending.
There
love
you
a nice
go.
little blob.
I love it. You said, yeah, Erdtree. Do we count those DLCs to me, at the very least, From Software ones don't feel like they have an ending. They feel like an imposing middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Because
usually
this is happening
right, don't they?
alongside the rest of the timeline.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
even after the DLC was added to Dark Souls 1, Gwyn was still the quote-unquote end of the game. And the same
Yeah.
was true of Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3, it felt like the actual, like the Ringed City and getting to the end of that was an actual like ending of the Dark Souls trilogy, which is probably
Yeah,
my
the
favorite
end,
ending to Dark
like the
Souls.
original Dark Souls 3 ending felt a bit, yeah, here's this again sort of
Mhm.
fight.
Yeah. And like you said, there is that weird, like, do you just kick us back out to a save point beforehand? Do you give us New Game Plus? Do you, the most exciting thing I think would be to present a world that is cognizant of what we've done and let us see how the world has changed there. But I feel like that would just take a lot of
Yes.
work in open world games, which,
Well, it's a lot of work, but I always fucking appreciate it. I mean, that goes back to I want to say Earthbound was the first
Yeah.
time I felt like that happened. You actually had a chance to go back through the world you had saved and see all the impact you'd had.
yeah,
I like a
characters
game-
like directly reference that, like, oh, the evil
Yeah.
has been vanquished and things are different now.
I mean, this is one of the things I liked about the American Arcadia ending, because throughout the credits it gives you like little snippets of information about what happened next.
Mm-hmm.
You get a sense for where everyone went after that. You feel like you got some closure. There's too many games that just end with, right, that's that, cut to black, with you just sort of standing there in the middle of the empty boss arena,
Yeah.
sort of going, but what now? What now? Imagine for yourself, player, what now?
I mean, I wish. Yeah, no, Erdtree. Not to spoil the ending. I was like, did I go the right way? Oh no, I think I missed something. I had to look it up. Like, who's the last boss? It's like, okay, I'm there. Not sure what happened here. To its credit, though, Elden Ring, once you beat the game, does leave the world like essentially devastated from your actions. Like, I'm pretty sure the pit is still there. Like the table, the hub, right, still in ruin. Like, that's not recovered, and I keep playing it. So I do like that, where it's almost like, I mean, that's what the New Game Plus is for, right? Like, go ahead and leave the world in ruin, and if I want to change it back, then I'll just roll it back if I feel like it.
Yeah. It's tough also to marry a satisfying mechanical ending with a satisfying narrative ending, right? I think that's ultimately the sweet spot. That's kind of tough to pull off. We have Metal Gear Solid 3 is in the thumbnail, and I think that's a rare game of that size that I think its final encounter with the boss is just an incredible, very personal fight that is engaging mechanically, feels like a final exam for everything you've learned about the combat throughout the game, but is also story-wise like you are fighting your mentor and what you have to do after that, and then sort of the kind of loss of innocence that Snake has afterwards is just really powerful. It's like that is an ending with multiple moments throughout its very extended ending that really stick out to me, and that's why I chose that image of Snake giving the salute, because like when I think of good endings in game, that's probably the one ending the image I think of at the end of a game.
Is that the one with the horse?
It's the one with the horse.
Yeah, that's why the Bloodborne ending. I forget which one of them it was that you're fighting the crazy creature is a good one. Yeah. It's because it's the horse scene done again. I love it.
Give us more horses.
It's just more horses.
Yeah.
I have a formula for what an open world game should do in post-ending fuckabouts mode to create a satisfying ending from that.
Right. Give it in.
What it should do is that firstly it should unlock like a new thing you could buy, either an upgrade or in like the in-game store or something, that costs like 1 billion cash that you'd have to like do basically every side quest to be able to afford.
All right.
And once you can afford that, it should be an item that in some way destroys the game. Maybe literally, like you could just drop a huge nuke. Maybe it's some kind of ability or movement ability that basically makes every single challenge in the game completely moot.
Mhm.
But it should be something that after you've got it, there's just nothing left to do but piss about.
Are there any games that really nail that?
Super World, Superland? Yeah.
I struggle to think of one. I was shooting to do something like this in Starstruck Vagabond, where there's the story end, and then there's the ending where you have to get 100% completion. And once you've done that, you unlock a new cryonic suspension booth. And if you get into it, it basically resets the entire universe again. So and then sends you into sort of Zen mode where there's no story, but a million missions and deliveries to do.
I like that.
And then you're your own dad.
No, no.
Because here's the thing. I feel like to have a satisfying ending for a game, you almost have to make another game at the end of your game, which that's a bit imposing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've said that basically every game that has a decent core gameplay loop should basically just tack on a roguelike mode.
You're starting to see some of that. Yeah.
Like what Bloodborne does with the challenge dungeons.
Yeah.
Because if it's fun if it's fun to play, just give us the chance to play it infinitely in some way.
I mean, that is the best sort of excuse because, like, the Binding of Isaac is essentially in purgatory. Like, you don't really know what's happening here. Like, I like to think at the end of Bully because it's the never-ending summer, right? Like, school's out, everything's done. You get to go through the world and finish. They could have ended that with like him getting hit by a car, cutscene, and then he's just like, "Whoa!" It's like never-ending summer. It's like, "Oh my god, I think he's dead. I think he's actually dead."
He gets what? Bully gets isekai'd?
Yeah, no, they get to isekai, so you can quickly tie that in, and like I'd say, I'm done with the series. Enjoy.
Yeah, I thought you were going in a sort of a time loop direction.
You could do it.
Never-ending summer. Sure. Very end, you get hit by a bus, or if like a meteorite falls from the sky. Yeah. You wake up and it's the start of summer again. It's like, oh God, now I got the chance to romance someone else or something.
I mean, a game that kind of does that. I guess slight spoilers for 2012's Journey. But when you your whole goal is to reach the top of the mountain, and you do that, and you seemingly die, but then you experience this kind of moment of awe in the afterlife as you are reborn, and that rebirth takes you all the way back to a shooting star you saw at the beginning of the game, right as your character stood up. So it's kind of it is just like truly about the circle of life and the circle of existence in the world, which I found in a game like that very poignant. I don't know if I'd want that in a Mario game or anything, but
wasn't that Limbo? Don't you like end up right back to where you started?
Right back, yeah. But speaking of Limbo, Inside is one of those endings that really sticks with me, even though I've only played it the one time it first came out, both again, mechanically and
I wouldn't say it was a satisfying ending, but it certainly sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You basically turn into a human Weetabix.
Yeah.
I think there could be done more, but like I said, it almost requires a whole part of the game that you don't expect for people to watch. Like, someone brought up Skyrim. Imagine, in these sort of RPGs where after you've done saving everything, now you just, I don't know, you want to be a merchant. You just, that's it. You're just going to be the town merchant.
Like your hero can retire to like a sort of a modest life.
In the end, yeah.
I don't think you necessarily need to create a whole other game as you described. I'd be perfectly satisfied if it had like the original Fallout ending where it just gave you a recap of what happened to all the characters after you were done and response to the choices you'd made.
Do you like it when documentaries do that ending? Where it's just like,
where are they now?
Yeah. And now Al Gore is crying.
Stand by me. He got drafted to Vietnam and he died.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He is currently serving a 25 to life in San Quentin prison.
Mm-hmm.
The original, or not the original, but Link to the Past, Zelda for Super Nintendo did that, where during the credits you have kind of montages of all the characters you met along the way and what their life is like after you've saved the world from the Dark World. And families are reunited, characters who were transformed into one thing are back to humans, like scary monster places are getting cleaned up, small things like that that's like, oh, the world actually, like what I did made a difference to things, people I met along the way.
I like a left open ending if it ends with like the characters leaving the world in which that we knew behind, like the Wind Waker ending. That was like satisfying. They were like, hey, let's just piss off now. Let's piss off to the next adventure and leave our sister looking sad because we're an asshole.
That's like the Lord of the Rings ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one part of the Game of Thrones ending I liked was that like Arya got to be like, well, I'm gonna go see what's going on west of here, like
Yes.
west of Westeros. And I was like, that's a cool ending for her character. She feels like she deserved to start
And
going
then
on new
she's-
adventures.
And then she sailed off the edge of the world and
Oh
died.
no! Oh no!
Yeah,
It's a flat Earth.
I want to see that text at the end where it's like she got gout and died.
Didn't
Otherwise,
bring
I'm
enough
like,
citrus with her
you're
on the
setting
boat.
up for a spin-off, and I don't trust you.
She discovered Hawaii and got murdered by natives like
Oh
Captain Cook.
no! Oh no! Poor Captain Cook. I guess for final encounters, for final bosses, do you like it being the sort of this is going to be the toughest fight of the game. This is where you're going to have to prove that you've mastered what we taught you, or do you want it to be like, oh, this should be a victory lap. This should be.
Well,
I've already proved myself. Let me just beat the shit out of everything.
I like a boss that like sort of goes through all the different stuff we've done, like most end of Zelda game bosses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it to be just monstrously hard, as you know. I've been a bit down on games just being massively hard at the end.
Yeah,
I just like it to walk that line where it's not hard, it's so hard that it feels like the game's dangling the ending over you and you will never quite reach it. I think the Nine Souls end boss is way too hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've heard a lot of people make the same complaint. The rest of the game's boss fights, they're mostly fairly straightforward. Towards the end, they start getting a bit bullshitty, but if you just memorize the patterns, you're fine. The last boss was a little bit unreasonable for me. In fact, cards on the table. I gave up and watched the ending on YouTube.
I don't blame you. I did the same thing. I was just replaying Parasite Eve for a video, and I got to the last boss. I'm like, this is just way too hard. We're just gonna watch the ending on YouTube. I'm not dealing
What's
with this.
the ending?
Yeah, but I still got to the final boss, so it still counts.
There you go.
I think I'm petty. I don't look for the ending after the fact, unless it's if it's multiple endings. That's the only time I'll actually look. But if it's
to see like, if I made the
I
different
don't
choices,
care about
what
you.
would have been?
I guess I prefer the model where the final boss isn't the hardest boss in the game because we're making the assumption that this is the standard experience for people who just want to get to the story, experience the story, and leave the actual hardest boss to that one weird optional one, like
I like that. Yeah,
Mano's Father of the Abyss or the Pit of 100 Trials in Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door.
Yeah.
I'm
A
bit
lot of
mixed.
JRPGs do that, where like Final Fantasy VII's hardest bosses are the weapons that are totally optional, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm a bit mixed because I'm the type to be like, well, for this person to be the big bad, he has to be bigger and better than the others. So yeah, I kind of do want them to be the most difficult. Otherwise, I don't believe the cronies would have stood around and just allowed this guy to take all the power.
Well, maybe they just understood he was the smart one. He was like he was the Tywin Lannister, not
Sure.
presented as like the combat powerhouse of the series, but
Yeah.
just the most powerful motherfucker in the kingdom just because he knows how to stare.
Then he dies on the toilet.
Yeah, like
Well,
especially
he should have stared harder. That's what I say.
especially for games like BioShock, where it was mostly about like subterfuge and wit. But in the end, he's like, "All right, then, I'm now gonna have this massive machine."
Yeah, that's like bosses that almost mechanically or narratively seem to just like completely contradict what happened beforehand.
Yeah.
Always feels a little silly to me. Like
It was definitely Bioshock's problem, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we were Casey and I recently replaying the Devil May Cry games for the streaming series. I think Devil May Cry 2 or 3. One of them just ends, and the last boss is a rail shooter.
Oh,
And you're like, this isn't what the game has been, and the final challenge is now this kind of like rail shooter segment. Like, why is this last thing something completely different? Sonic games tend to do that. I think Sonic Frontiers, the final boss was the same kind of like bullshit. You're flying through the air.
What was that like Star Fox game that did that? Where it was like mostly like a Zelda-like game, but then at the very end they remembered, oh shit, it's a Star Fox game.
So it's Star Fox Adventures. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last fight is like back in the spaceships.
yeah. I said, thematically it's one thing, but Evil West was a victim of this one. The ending boss, your character is not a mobile cowboy. He's like a slow moving slugger, with a bit of a dash, but now it's like, all right, you gotta watch out for these environmental hazards. I'm like, dear God, this has not been used at all up until now.
Yeah.
And who is this guy even?
Yeah.
I don't think he was the main baddie. That's how I felt with like the Joker.
There's a few games
at the end of Asylum.
Well, who
Joker
else were you
at the
going
end
to
of
fight for the final boss?
but did he have to be all buffed up?
Yeah, he just
Buffed up
juiced
Joker?
himself.
I don't know. I think like whimsically shooting himself in the face with his own like super soldier tonic was sort of in character for him. You know, chaotic and all that.
I guess.
So
I just
hey,
felt
let's
very,
see what happens if I do this sort of attitude.
Yeah.
I've tried everything else, kind of thing. I don't know.
I don't know what do you think about games where the final boss is just something that's never been a character up to that point? I wasn't at Final Fantasy IX where you've beat the big villain of the story and then there's just
A thing.
oh, we just remembered RPGs have to end with you killing God, so here's one.
I mean, Persona games do that, right? You have a sort of like a humanoid or like a clear antagonist, and the last thing you fight is just a giant scary
that's
angel.
what kind of annoyed me about Persona 4, thinking back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, we've been fighting like normal people, and if you don't suspect there's another ending, you could just go away from the game thinking, yeah, it just ended with us fighting the people that we'd gotten to know over the course of the game. But then if you do find the actual ending, it's like, oh, hey, evil God was behind it all along.
Yeah. Vintage evil god.
I mean, it works when it's grounded, I feel. I remember like in old fighting games where you would get to the last guy and then it's like suddenly it's Akuma. And then after that, it's like, oh my God, it's Seth. And like, Jesus Christ, how much buffer do these guys get?
Yeah.
So like went to, oh yeah, like in even old Tekken where you fight the normal dude. I think it's just Montezuma, and then he's this big monster creature thing you're fighting. Like, jeez, that'll do a number on you.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's kind of that when you keep having to ratchet up the stakes, eventually at the end of something, does the thing get kind of silly?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'm just a little speck fighting this big thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people misunderstand stakes as just bringing out the bigger monster. I mean, imagine if Metal Gear Solid 3 ended with you killing the boss, and then after that, fucking Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance shows up and says, haha, I was telling the boss what to do all along. Now you get to fight me.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
God.
So that's why
The Senator Armstrong fight is great in the confines of that game. Like, it makes sense in that game, but yeah, doing it somewhere else would just kind of make me roll my eyes.
Because it's fucking nuts, and that game's fucking nuts.
What about, we sort of touched on the idea of multiple endings. I know, so you talked about what did you call it, the Ending Tron 3000?
The Ending Tron 3000, which is the worst way of doing it, where you're just at the end of the game, there's just a panel of buttons or a dialogue choice, and whatever you picked, and irregardless of everything you've done up to that point, decides the ending. First coined when I reviewed Deus Ex Human Revolution. Because the problem with that is that it ends, because as a narrative specialist, I think endings are very, very important. They pay off everything that's been established up to that point, and they leave you with the feeling you're going to feel about that game as you go away. And if you get an Ending Tron 2000 situation, then what you end up with is a feeling that none of the endings really count. Because the first thing you do after you've seen one is reload your last save and try another.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't that a big, or I guess a big talking point around Mass Effect 3 was that, like...
Yeah, that was
this
a classic Ending Tron 3000. Everything you'd done, this entire trilogy, the many choices you'd made in the course of the trilogy, that the game made a point of sticking from game to game. And then at the very end, it's just Ending Tron 3000. What flavor of ice cream do you want to give everyone in the universe? That's basically what it was.
Are there examples of games where you make choices and it feels like the ending's actually good? Like the ending, does sort of reflect?
I think, like I said, like the Fallout games that ended with like a summary of everything that happened after that, based on the choices you'd made.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds does that to a certain extent.
Speaking of good ending, I really like the ending of Outer Wilds. Sorry, the word outer triggered me.
Me every time.
Confusing, isn't it?
Every time. We kind of touched on it, but the the more thematic, the last boss is a weary old man. Then I do it for you.
If it's there with the story, like the old King Oant or whatever, and Demon Souls, I didn't really have a connection to that, but I do like. Speaking of a couple just old weary men slugging each other at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, where
I had a feeling you'd mention that. Yeah.
yeah, where the two of them are just beating the shit out of each other and kind of going through the history of the series. Where it's funny because that really works for me as like someone who's a fan of the Metal Gear series. Like that feels like a kind of incredible at the time culmination of what they thought would be the end of the series. And it didn't feel like it was pandering or anything or like sort of playing on our nostalgia. Whereas without going into spoilers, like I saw the new Deadpool movie over the weekend and I was just like kind of in shock of how just like empty everything in that movie was. Like it felt like it was a movie just made to be 55 Easter eggs in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Not a Deadpool movie.
Not a Deadpool movie. In my Deadpool movie, I'm not losing sleep over it, but I'm just like, oh, none of this worked on me. So maybe that sort of nostalgia stuff is a case by case basis.
So, to that end,
I mean, yeah, no one would. I would argue quite a lot of people who have played all the Metal Gear Solid games wouldn't know what the fuck was going on at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4.
It's very confusing. A lot of weird shit going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
True, what was that?
But you know, it's another hard line to walk because you want to pay off all the fans who've stuck around since the beginning, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, this might be the current player's first game. What can you do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What about those? Because we said the issues were like live service and open world are almost like de facto bad endings. What about the more like cinematic, linear adventures nowadays? Like I just got back. I don't think it's that old, is it? A Way Out that I finished with a Will.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Christ alive, we got through both endings. That was awful.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. It's a pretty
horrendous on
fucking
both
bad.
ends.
It's a pretty bad game.
Boy. Just no choice. I mean, we essentially had no choice even after everything we had gone through together. And I'm like, there's no way this is how it ends. Okay, as you said, very Ending Tron. Like, okay, just press the button, and it's like whatever happens, happens. No choice to override it. No, nothing. I was like, we were in prison together. You know, you'd think you'd have some sort of attachment or talk it out or something. But no, it ends with
No.
as it does, one or the other.
I mean, it's kind of cool from a gameplay perspective for a co-op game to end with finally turning the two players against each other.
Yeah, I think that's like an interesting narrative, sort of not a rug pull, but
a twist.
Yeah,
they could have done more of that, like throughout the game, though. I mean, even Castle Crashers does that. After you beat the level, you fight each other, and then you go on to the next one. They could have had more moments where you are turning on each other, but it's more so like the ending. It's like this is the first time we're actually fighting it out, and it went that way. All right.
Yeah.
I guess that's what the mini games were for, huh? To get used to competing against each other
in Connect 4 or whatever, checkers.
Yeah, good. Connect 4 and checkers. Oh, there it is. And
what about bummer endings? Do we like bummer endings?
Bummer endings.
It depends.
Yeah, an ending that's just sad as shit. And you're like, oh, none of this is the opposite of that.
Like,
this is a feel bad ending.
Dredge.
What, like the ending of Scorn?
A little bit like the ending of Scorn, yeah.
I did that.
Yeah, that definitely made me feel like, well, what the fuck was the point of all that then? That was what I went away from Scorn feeling.
I didn't finish it.
You're not missing out on much.
So I have to watch it? Okay.
No, you're fine. You are totally fine. Yeah, I mean, there's sort of the dour endings that do a good job of recontextualizing stuff that came before it, like Spec Ops. Pretty much no matter which ending you choose, in the end there, it does kind of a great job of reframing everything you
Yes.
did up until that point.
I think Silent Hill 2 does that pretty well also.
Yeah.
The endings don't change what happens, they just sort of reframe the way James like moves on from them.
Yeah. I also like endings where like you fail. Like a movie or a story where the characters fail, like Halo Reach. You can't survive. You can survive as long as you can, but you ultimately can't win.
One.
No, that's a good failure though, isn't it? Because you're sacrificing yourself so that your friends
yeah.
can live.
Yeah.
What about like Hellblade though?
I mean, there are
that's a good
plots,
mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, there are stories that end with failure, but it's usually in a narratively satisfying way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what audiences ask for. That it has to be justified.
Yeah, your Red Dead.
Yeah.
How people feeling though on like the moral ones? I guess like The Last of Us. I think that was the big hang up for the first one. I'm just like, that's not a choice I would have made. I was like, well, it's a choice
It's not
Joel
you.
made.
You're playing a man named Joel Miller. He's not you.
But I paid for it.
Well, that applies to both The Last of Us games, I suppose, where it just ends with the main characters making really poor decisions, and then you're like, well, that's what I figured would happen, you idiot.
Yeah. But I mean, people in desperate times like that make bad decisions. People in normal times make bad decisions. So, like, I don't know.
mean, it's not a very hopeful message, though, is it? That's probably why it gets people down. We want to end in a way that makes us go, yes, that's basically worked out as well as could be expected.
Did you finish Soma?
Yeah, I finished Soma.
That didn't end well for that man. It ended poorly for that man.
Well, it ended poorly for one of that man.
For one of that man. Listen, if you're gonna ever upload your consciousness to something, you got to read the fine print and be like, am I gonna be the consciousness, or am I gonna be the man who's left here?
Yeah, the fine print is, did you watch The Prestige? Maybe watch The Prestige again.
See all those hats? Yeah, worry about all those hats.
Yeah. No, I think if nothing else, I'll take me a nice little twist, even if it is a bit bleak. The endings of Dredge, I enjoyed them. The ending of Atomic Heart, after all the implications are through, and you're like, oh no, I'm brain dead, and that's my wife.
The weird thing about Atomic Heart is that the bad ending is the one that takes more work to get.
Yes,
the good,
yes, it does.
You get the good ending if you decide to peace out before the final boss.
Yep. I mean, shoot, Lies of P does that, I think. I think the bad ending is the one you have to fight for, whereas the other one, like, it ends there. Regardless, it still leaves you on the cliffhanger of like, cinematic universe.
What's coming next? Yeah.
I mean, game design 101. You'd think the ending should be more satisfying if it's the one you had to put more work into.
I don't know. That's a gambler's fallacy to me.
Well, we're a bunch of gamblers here.
I'm not sure you know what the gambler's fallacy is.
Oh, yeah, it's just the assumption that's like, I'm on a hot streak. And that's more so, I guess, just the correlation. I paid more, so it's going to have more quality. I worked harder, so it should be, not inversely. It should correlate with my satisfaction. Yeah. I think having played enough Metroidvanias, it's more about the completion than the actual ending. Oh, man.
Well, that's always how I play Metroidvanias. Got to fill out every square in the map.
Yeah,
Got to find everything. That's the point.
No.
All the endings, and then you just get like a really dinky boss fight for some reason. Because it was
again, like the really hard one was probably optional and hidden somewhere, like Galamoth in Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, or Hollow Knight. Like, I finished Hollow Knight, and then there was all the Road to Pain or whatever the fuck it was. Where I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is too spicy for me. I'll tap out here.
Yeah, that was good. I would say, they had good bosses, and then if you want to go beyond, sure, why not? Yeah, Binding of Isaac as well. If you get like the 1000% completion or whatever, those bosses really put the fuck on you. The Tarnishing of Juxtia, that's one I did have to go look for the super spicy ending. I don't even think it was an ending. It was just a side character that was hella hard.
That's the name of a game? The Tarnishing of Juxtia?
Yeah, the Tarnishing of Juxtia. It was like the fourth review I'd done at the old place.
I wanted to say Gesundheit.
Oh, yeah. That was a rough one. That was a
during one of these episodes where we are pretty much just riffing and like bringing up games. One day I always want to bring up a fake game and just kind of roll, see if anyone calls me about it.
Yes, who could forget the example of Little Creosusco's Bongo?
Yeah, the incredible ending of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids on the NES really, really moved me. You know what I like in a charming, colorful, lighthearted game? I like when I get to fuck shit up during the credits. I was recently playing Astro's Playroom, and you're interacting with the credits. Smash Bros. Always lets you interact with the credits. At the end of Katamari, you can usually like roll up all the countries during the credits. I like doing that.
At the end of Sam & Max Hit the Road, you can shoot all the credits.
Give me a little bit of that. I feel like that wouldn't work in like a Last of Us, something sad. But I think it works in a nice little.
You like, You like being able to fuck up the credits. That's fair.
Yeah, look what I was doing that just a few weeks ago in Astro's Playroom. Just running into a bunch of Japanese men, just slapping their names everywhere.
What would be a good, like, sober, like, depressing gameplay gimmick to have over the credits?
It's just the
music. Maybe
Character drinking
Okay,
alone at a bar, and every time a name comes, they just like are slowly
just-
drowning their sorrows.
Yeah, just sad post credits. Like, here's the developers that were fired immediately after.
Oh God, that's too real.
Just anyone who's worked at Embracer, it's like, here's the list of everyone who doesn't work here anymore.
Oh God.
Preferably mine.
Maybe it's like a credit sequence that it's unskippable, but you have to manually turn a little crank to make the words scroll by.
Oh Jesus!
You got it. You got
put
to.
effort.
You got to bring your cranker out.
Here's
Get your
first-
crank on.
Oh,
Amen.
you've got a cranker.
And a cranker. This battery's been dead for a while, but I have a cranker. I just want everyone to know I have it and I know where it is.
We've come a long way. It was Far Cry 3. It ended with a scrolling text and a sword stuck in the ground on the left side. That's what that was. It could be simple.
Did Voss have a sword? Was he a sword man?
I think it's the sword you used to. Well, you might. Yeah, I think you killed Voss with it, didn't you?
I haven't played Far Cry 3 since it came out. So it's,
See, now that was a rough ending. Where some kind of just overstay, and I'm like, this could have ended so much sooner.
I wanted to kill all my mates and stay on the island,
Why'd you want to kill your mates?
so I can stay on the island.
You could have stayed without killing them, though.
Well, not.
they'll
in that
tell
game.
people where the island is. We don't want them. This is our island.
That's that game's Ending Tron 3000. You can either leave the island and kill your new girlfriend, or you can kill all your previous mates and stay on the island with your new girlfriend. But if you do that, she kills you.
The big two.
Oh, that girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Did you
right.
have multiple girlfriends in that game?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, there's the one you
Damn.
start with, who you have to rescue, who's part of your like group of asshole white rich kids, and then there's the new girlfriend, who's like the leader of the rebels on the first island, and who's the sister of Vars. And if you side with her in the end, you have to murder all your friends, and then she has sex with you, and then she stabs you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Just like real life.
It's weird.
Just like the
Weird.
fortune teller told me.
Knew it.
I feel like the last three endings I had written down that I really like that are all also kind of bummers in their own way were Shadow of the Colossus, and I like how it ties back into Eco. I think that's a really great ending of like, ooh, everything we did in this game wasn't good.
That's a cool little oh shit moment.
Yeah,
Cool little oh shit, this was a franchise all along moment.
yeah. For Zelda games, by and large, I like how the Zelda games end. I really like how Link's Awakening ends. In the like, all right, we're waking up from a dream. Goodbye, everyone. You don't exist anymore. Like that's a nice little bummer. And then without going to spoilers, both Nier Automata and Nier Replicant, I feel like those are always the games we talk about when we talk about good
Which
ending.
ending?
We can't actually. That's the thing is we can't, and you can't just go because if you spoil it, it's too much. It's too much to spoil. It's too much. It's too much. You won't get it. But yeah, real good stuff.
Shall we go to super chats?
Yeah, let's have a go.
We got so many
They've
super
got
chats. These are
some
plenty of
great
examples.
Also, thanks. You know what? You know what I'm going to say? Thanks to our sponsor at Game Makers. Thanks for sponsoring.
Oh,
us at
yes.
Game Maker.
Thank you very much for sponsoring us and for providing a wonderful piece of software that I use to make games with.
Also, go buy Yahtzee's games.
Yeah, go buy Starstruck Vagabond. It's good.
Right.
Greatest ending of all time.
All 26 endings. Jesus. For Nier, that's a bit much.
Yeah, one for each letter of the alphabet. Anyway, Pierre Tadros gives 5 Canadian dollars and says, "Will watch post work, but I am always a sucker for Last Stand endings. I think they work great in games as you can combine the narrative and gameplay.
Yeah.
Yes, like the aforementioned Halo Reach, like the aforementioned Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. Even
Any
Hellblade 1.
others? Hellblade
Call of
1?
Duty.
No,
4?
Hellblade 1 doesn't have a
2?
Last Stand ending, does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It has a final battle that you cannot win, but you don't die. It is kind of like a final encounter where the guys keep coming until you.
Yeah, they just keep coming through. It was COD 4 or COD Modern Warfare 1 or 2 with the Deagle. I want to say you shot Shepard. I forget who it was.
With the Beagle?
All the Modern Warfare games had a Last Stand ending. Yeah.
Yeah. And a bit where the character you're playing as gets killed.
1 and 3.
Mm.
Those are something. I'm like, what? No way! I'm driving. No way.
Well, it was a no way moment in the first Modern Warfare game, and then it sort of started becoming inevitable.
Oh yeah, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy was Zack's last stand. Although they kind of they changed that all with the Final Fantasy VII remix. That got really nerdy. I'm sorry. Talk about the next thing.
Party Pirate gives £5 and says, "Brutal Legend is one of the top letdowns for taking a great action adventure game and veering wildly into clunky RTS. Just let the whole thing down." Well, as Jay passed on to me from Tim Schafer himself, it was always intended to be an RTS in the first place.
And it wasn't just at
So-
the ending it was introduced, right? It was like
No,
woven
no, it was
throughout
like
the game.
it was like the whole game. I think it
Well,
might have been
yeah.
only the final boss where the final battle where the RTSing was actually kind of necessary to win.
Yeah,
All the rest of the time, you could kind of just do everything yourself.
yeah. As someone who's a big fan of Double Fine and Tim Schafer and LucasArts, and not a big fan of heavy metal music or real time strategy things, that was always a tough pill for me to swallow. With
What about Jack Black?
I could take it. I don't have an opinion on Jack Black.
All right.
He's totally fine.
you
He's like
gonna watch-
cilantro to me. He doesn't leave a taste in my mouth. Like
You
he's
know
in the
what?
meal.
Kung
It's
Fu
totally fine.
Panda 4.
Ayo.
No, I've seen Kung Fu Panda 1. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones.
Now, there's a title that's, what's the term? High concept.
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu
Yeah.
Panda.
Tells you everything you need to know.
It's very yeah. I like it.
Pierre Tardres gives $2 Canadian and says, to be clear, endings like Halo, Reach, and Crisis Core. Yes, thank
Oh,
you,
yes.
Pierre Tardres.
Beautiful.
Dr. Theo gives $2 and says, Fallout 3 is my go-to bad ending example. Yes, we all remember that one, don't we?
Wow. Then.
Where the ending was, you have to go into an irradiated room to save the world. And you've got multiple party members you could order to do it instead of you, some of whom are immune to radiation, but we're not going to let you do that because we didn't think of that when we were writing this game.
That's
Oh,
Star
that's
Trek.
silly. But is someone
You will
immune to
always be
radiation?
my friend, or whatever.
If you're
Yes.
if you have one person immune to radiation, you'd be like, well, let's just send him in here. Obviously,
I think later on they patched the game so you could get one of your immune to radiation friends to do it, but then the game sort of feels a little anticlimactic, I suppose. It's like, all right, save the day. Now what? Fox D gives $2 and says, just outright say congratulation, a winner is you. You big racist, Fox D.
No, Fox D. That was what was the game?
A winner is you. That was from what was it called? Like a wrestling game on the NES.
Oh, I thought it was like a shooter. Oh, no, that was all your base are belong.
Yeah,
to-
that was
to us.
Zero Wing. Was that all your base?
I don't know.
But yeah, A Winner Is You was a wrestling game whose
Oh.
exact title I forget.
Great.
Laurie gives €6 and says, what I hate is when a great ending is undermined by a sequel whose story clearly wasn't planned during the first game. Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 13 come to mind. Yeah, it's like when they did more episodes of Futurama and they showed that he went back and looked after his dog.
Yeah.
How would they do that?
Final Fantasy
I know.
X 2, I give a pass to because that was almost like a silly like the stakes are so much lower in this offshoot, which I'm fine with. Doesn't ruin the thing that came before.
One day I'll get through those games, but
Yeah.
on my deathbed. That's my ending.
There you go. So, we appreciate endings because we like to think about our own deaths, as you said, Marty.
Mhm.
So, what would be your favorite way to die? What would be your preferred way to die?
With a never mind.
Are you want one of those deathbed moments, all the family around, or do you want to die like pushing an orphan away from a bus?
In my sleep, man.
Sacrifice would be nice, or like seeing something no human being has ever seen.
You
I don't
break
know
into
what that-
Area 51 and they shoot
that
you.
would- Yeah, maybe like having my last moments be like, oh shit, that is real, and then dying.
Getting sucked into the Stargate at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I think
And
that'd
your
be
last recorded communication is, "My God, it's full of stars."
Yeah, pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like finding out that my wife is actually communist ballerina robots. And we fight to the death.
There you go.
That'll be mine.
Yes. Anyway, the Brain Sturgeon gives €6 and says, speaking of Yahtzee's pet peeves in game endings, the ending Tron 3000. Press different buttons for different endings like Deus Ex Human Revolution. Well, we know at what point in the podcast that super chat came before.
Was that the first of the two modern Deus Ex? Mankind Divided was the second one.
Yes.
Did
The
that
original Deus Ex was
matter
just
ending?
Deus Ex. Mankind
And then there was
Divided.
Invisible War, right?
Yeah, that was the sequel everyone forgets.
Okay.
Which, and after that they did Human Revolution. And then Mankind Divided How did Mankind Divided end? I think it might have just had the same ending, whatever you did.
Oh,
I remember it sort of ended on a, hey, this is like the plots isn't over. This is like the second installment of a trilogy. And then we never got anything.
yeah.
Anyway, Danny123451 gives £10 and says, I found FF7 Remake's ending shockingly bad, and I have never seen such poorly implemented post-game content in me life. Kingdom Hearts 3 also did not fare much better.
Jeez, I thought we just
Except he
got...
says, except he uses FAIR fair when he should be using FARE fair in that context.
Oh, we're gonna send a letter to Tatsuya Nomura.
So-
Yes,
He's
I'm
gonna
going
be
to
mad
write.
at you.
I'm going to write "See Me" under your super chat with the red pen.
Yeah, I think the people who didn't like Final Fantasy VII Remake's ending, which is totally fine if you didn't like it, are the ones who wanted a very faithful remake to Final Fantasy VII. And then the end of that remake is like, ooh, we're going to change things, and we're cognizant of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So
Yeah, I assumed the intention of remake was, oh, you want to remake a Final Fantasy VII, do you? Well, here it is. Psych.
Mm-hmm.
You made me.
That was the message.
Yeah.
Ryan Betts gives $5 and says, for me, both of Soma's back-to-back endings and the contrast between the two were quite satisfying and left me reflecting on the story in the best way.
Yeah, things seem cool
Yeah,
for the version of you that gets to like wander around a little utopia. That seems nice.
Well, that's what you want, is an ending that leaves you thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oi, speaking of, did the Talos Principle have good endings?
Finished them.
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, for all this philosophical musing, you better have a good ending. So,
Well, you know, a lot of the pleasure is in the journey.
Speaking of speaking of first-person puzzlers, that got me to. We didn't talk about any Valve games. I feel people would be mad if we didn't talk about Valve games. Do you think
Okay,
Valve does endings well?
Portal's got a very good ending. Half-Life, not so much.
I say narratively, Portal's ending is good. I think like mechanically, we ain't
Yeah.
done this stuff before.
Yeah, well, it was. Well, there were a couple of puzzles that were based around using Portal to redirect missiles. So,
Isn't that?
You
Didn't
could
they run out of money
intuit it.
or something?
yeah, well, that's why the final boss was like the boss sitting there not doing anything, and there's a timer because nerve gas is entering the room, because that's basically all they could afford.
Yeah, it's very Monty Python, Holy Grail kind of ending.
Yeah,
Yes, that's all the money we got. All right, let's go.
yeah. All right, wrap it up, lads. Yeah. Half-Life 1's ending is okay. Zen levels notwithstanding. Half-Life 2, well, that never really ended, did it?
Nope. Nope. The cliffhanger at the end of
yeah.
episode 2 is pretty neat.
Yeah,
end it?
and then they retconned it in Half-Life Alyx. So
Yeah. It was neat for a little while.
there you go. And now I guess no one there knows what the fuck they're going to do now. Locuus gives 50 arses and says, how do you feel about endings that are large text box epilogues? Thinking of like the original Dragon Age Origins, for example. If that's what you have to do to give me my what happened next ending, and you can't put all of your effort into every single possible ending, then fine. I'm fine with it. I don't mind reading. I've read books. It's a thing I do.
Especially if it's a game that has a lot of like RPGs are kind of built on the foundation of reading. So
if there's a lot of potential ways the ending could have gone, then I really wouldn't complain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
If it's a text ending, even though there's only one possible ending you could get, that would probably be a little bit more disappointing.
Pyre did a good job of that, right? Like Pyre almost gives you like
Yeah,
when you finish the game, like every character you could click on and see what their life is like, whether you sacrifice them or not. You don't send them.
yeah. You don't
Not
sacrifice
hell.
them. If anything, not sacrificing them is the bad thing to do.
Yes, that's true. It's weird use of those terminologies.
Yeah, weird sort of turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
The character you have to decide which character you're going to delete from the game as a favor to them.
Yes. And so you're wrestling with the idea of you have a character that mechanically is really good, but if you like them narratively, you want them to leave the game.
Yeah. I rescued the dog.
Of course.
Of course you did.
I think he was the first one I rescued. Like, yes, be free. I'll meet you over the Rainbow Bridge, my old friend.
Damn, my point guard.
My point guard and Jesus basketball.
Tommy Salty gives 10 PLNs and says, gunshot cut to black stroke, it was a dream. Best ending, wingy face.
Soprano it. Let's go.
Yeah.
That wasn't even gunshot cut to black. That was just cut to black.
Yeah, he could have choked on a little gabagool there or something.
Maybe they just ran out of film.
Or
They're like, shit, we didn't pack enough film today.
yeah, maybe
No
just
one would
changed
have
the
liked.
job. I don't know.
No one would have liked Breaking Bad if it had ended on gunshot cut to black.
It should have ended in that
was-
scene where he was underneath the crawl. All the money's gone. He's just laughing, and then
And
just,
cameras.
Dr. Theo gives $5 and says, speaking of endings, I actually don't mind getting spoiled. I enjoy seeing how it builds up to the ending and seeing all the foreshadowing ahead of time. You're weird, Dr. Theo.
I don't know if they close the loop well enough. Entropy Center starts you back at the beginning. Hades starts you back. Well, I guess it's not the beginning, is it?
I mean, I recently had to play through Knights of the Old Republic, which, of course, has a very famous twist ending, which was spoiled for me beforehand, and I didn't appreciate that having been spoiled for me.
Because it's narrative in it.
Well, yeah.
That's one of those endings that would be impossible to go 2 decades without having it spoiled, though, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Mhm.
Anyone who's in the video game adjacent space. Walpole, member for 4 months in sponsor-free videos, says Baldur's Gate 3 had great endings, but that was a lot of work. For a simple one, I think Bioshock 1 and 2 did it satisfyingly, even if the moral choice was poorly done. Not with the boss fight,
I think the
Walpole.
fight itself was weird.
Yeah, the fight was shit. You're talking about the ending you get based on if you sacrificed the little sisters or didn't.
If you're a bad person or not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I like the ending
Maybe.
of the Burial at Sea and of the 2 DLCs for 2 and 3. Burial at Sea is the DLC for 3, right?
Infinite. Yeah, Infinite.
For Infinite, yeah. And then what's the DLC for 2?
I don't
Minerva's
know.
Den. Minerva's Den. It's its own little story.
Okay.
That one has a really good ending.
And the Bioshock thing, the twist was, I'm not really Scottish.
I didn't, without going into spoilers, the ending of Still Wakes the Deep didn't really do anything. The Scottish thing reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for me. I enjoyed the
I'm not
game.
really
I think overall, I got to the ending and I was like, okay, I guess we're done.
Yeah, I didn't like the ending at all.
Yeah.
Is that a horror game?
Hmm?
Is it a horror
Still
game?
Wakes the Deep. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like Outlast type?
I don't see how you
As
could
tense.
be. I don't see how you could be hesitant to describe Still Wakes the Deep as a horror game. Adam.
Okay. Yeah.
That is
It's a horror
something.
game, but I don't think it's very scary.
Okay.
It tries. It does try to be.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just thought
Yeah,
it was. I just thought the way they talked was silly, and I liked it. I want more games to have that. Does what's the game you guys were talking about? The very
Thank
British
goodness you're
game?
here.
Yeah. Does that have voices?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a way to have localized subtitles? Like,
Yes, there are.
Yeah, that's what Yahtzee told you. Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was like literally change the script. Ooh, that's good. I like that. Put that in more
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Snake in the Garden gives €2 and says Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC motorbike breaks game, but it's good. That's
Yeah,
what I'm talking about.
that's a fun
Like a-
example. But
like
that's
a
in the
fucking motorbike.
DLC. You gotta pay for that.
Like a motorbike or a jetpack or fucking napalm launcher that also makes you fly,
Yeah, give me like a handgun in a fantasy game or like in a medieval
Right.
game.
or in Another Crab's Treasure.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
there you go.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. No, I'm still waiting for
Yeah.
Yachts to do that Metroidvania where at the end you can actually like bash through the bloody walls and everything.
Oh, that sounds neat.
Mhm.
An assault rifle. Just give you an assault rifle at the end of
Good.
Dark Souls.
Every game should have a Chicago typewriter with infinite ammo. Resident Evil 4 did it best.
Eero Lang gives €5 and says Until Dawn versus The Quarry. Former gives you insight of how the characters felt about everything during the credits. The latter gives you screenshots. Well, hand on heart, yeah. If you held me down and forced me to pick one to be that is the better game, I would have said Until Dawn.
That one had first party Sony money behind it, so I kind of get.
Yeah. And also Rami Malek's in it, however you pronounce that.
TV's Rami Malek.
Wow.
Yeah,
Prince himself.
Oscar-winning Rami Malek now.
Yeah.
Wait, what did I say? Prince? Queen?
Queen.
Your
Freddie
Majesty.
Mercury. Your Majesty. Yeah, some member of
Yeah,
royalty.
everything confused. I got Queen, Mercury, Freddie Prince Jr. like, oh, one.
Yes, I see why you got confused now.
Yeah.
A superb owner, welcome to Tip Jar.
Hey.
And then Witticism gives $5 and says, Dragon's Dogma 1 is one of my favorite endings. Also, I'm with ya. The final boss of 9 Souls is a tad cruel. That phase 3 attack can go fuck itself.
I gotta ask,
Yeah.
Marty, at the end of Erdtree, ending aside, the fight itself, how'd you fare? I was getting dizzy, man.
It's incredibly hard.
Okay.
Even with all the help in the world,
way
it's
you
incredibly hard.
Yeah, the way you said it earlier, I was like, damn, Marty's built different. He just he just brushed it.
Oh, no. I just meant it was like, it just felt unfairly difficult.
Yeah,
like, it didn't feel like, there's some of those bad fights you get through and you're like, ooh, this was good. Like, I feel good after this. This was like, oh, I've just served time in a prison camp. Like, I don't feel like this made me a better person afterwards.
This is like everything is moving so fast. It's making me lose consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the G
And then I
forces are.
And then I see those videos of like very specific builds where someone can kill him like before and even mid-phase transformation.
Yeah,
How are y'all doing?
piss off. Fox D gives $10 and says, I'm a sucker for any game where the NPCs acknowledge how much you've been through together in a 100+ hour playthrough, like Stardew Valley or my time at Sandrock. Give me some heartfelt recognition.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about Firelink. All the different stories and NPCs that pass through there. And then it gets empty.
There's another thing I was shooting for with Starstruck Vagabond.
Yeah,
If you get the New Game Plus ending where you like freeze yourself again for 2,000 years, and all the party members you made friends with leave a message for you to read when you wake up.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That's nice.
Yeah. And they tell you what they're going to do with their lives now. Not that you care. You
meet their ancestors, and then see you have to make new games just for endings.
Yeah, there you go. A superb owner gave us $5 and says Metroid Prime's boss is a good final exam in that it made you use each ability you unlocked over the course of the game. Here's some dollars to go play it. I've played it, a superb owner.
No, it's for our current goal.
It's very
For a
Oh yes, I see.
It's very Guacamelee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do like that. Except like
yes.
It can be a little awkward because, like, especially in Guacamelee, because it almost goes beat for beat in the way that you learn them. So at the start, it was a lot harder because I was like, God, what was that mechanic that they taught me so long ago again?
Yeah, and they almost like go through. There's like either boss rushes but like the final boss of Death's Door goes through like a bunch of phases, and each phase is one of the main bosses of the game. So you have to be like, remember how you beat that first boss 10 hours ago? I was like, I do not. I do not remember how I beat that man. I guess I have to remember now.
I remember the Metroid Prime final boss being really hard when I first played it, but then I replayed it when it was remade on Switch, and thought, wow, this is really easy. And then I realized that the original GameCube controls sucked ass.
Yeah, and I think
that's when I realized that you can never go home again.
Oh no, the Wave Bird! How could you do this to us?
Oh man.
Jules Rowe gives €2 and says Asura's Wrath is a choice for good and bad ending.
What ending was in DLC?
So. Well, because it has like the ending that was there on the disc at launch, and then the DLC actual ending of the game. Like the ending that was there on the first day was pretty bad, and then the ending you get when you play the final episode or two in the DLC is very good.
What did I dig? You made my daughter cry.
If you want a game that has a good ending and a bad ending, and both of them feel satisfying and are decent endings, I would nominate Infamous 2 for that accolade.
Oh yeah, we're either the savior or you become the villain. No.
Yeah. I think they both got pretty hard-hitting emotional moments. Like if you're the bad guy, you have to kill your best friend. And you have to do it in a very drawn-out, horrible way where that really drives it home what you're doing.
Yeah. Just like A Way Out.
Oh, there you go. Dr. Theo comes back with $5 and says, Saw 2, the game had an Ending Tron thing, except it was at the start of the game with zero context. You have to start all over to see the other ending.
That's insane.
No, Black Ops 2 did that multiple. It was sort of choose your own adventure.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Horrible thing. And then you could go back at the end and change some of the outcomes, but then you'd have to play the game from there. So I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I like when you do a binary choice before you know. Like, I think the first Wolfenstein of the new Wolfensteins.
Yeah,
like,
Wolfenstein.
which of these two characters is going to live? And I'm like, I don't know them. I don't know them yet. I haven't spent enough time with them.
Like, I'll be honest. Yeah, those decisions for me, a lot of it is like, what do I get?
Yeah,
like when I decide this, what am I choosing here exactly?
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, in Stardew meaning Starstruck Vagabond, and found Portal on Zoob Planet, it did nothing. Went up, re-landed, now it's gone. Also, shift keys have no faces when reassigning. Bugs?
Wow.
Maybe get out of the settings.
Alex, we have a special Discord for this. If you go to the games channel in the Stars on the Second Wind Discord, there's a special thread for posting about Starstruck Vagabond, which I occasionally dredge for bug reports. Maybe you could take your $5 there.
No,
we're trying to talk about important things.
No, we're going to keep your $5, and we appreciate your $5.
Take your question there.
Look at that. Eric even put a little link.
There you
go. Rose Delta gives $5 and says, this made me recall. To me, the only satisfying Cyberpunk 2077 ending felt like the suicide ending. The voicemails after were gut-wrenching too.
You just murk yourself in these games.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I tend to think the suicide ending was the best ending of Silent Hill 2 as well. Without wishing to spoil.
Same for Butterfly Effect. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best way for the story can end.
There you go.
I want a game to do a Donnie Darko ending.
Where it turns out like you'll go back in time to the start and then die.
I don't
but
even
everyone's
know
life will be better because of that.
Reset. Yeah, just have a good smile and then.
Yes. Ha ha! I get to die now! Yay! That's the Donnie Darko ending.
Mm-hmm.
Fox D gives $5 and says the best part of Starstruck Vagabond's ending was the fantastic music on the fluffy critter planet. Big ups to the composers on that track. Yes, Starstruck Vagabond has very good music, composed by Sam Horton and Joe Collinson, the composers of the soundtrack for BPM Bullets Per Minute, who are very jolly good music-y men.
Mm-hmm. They know how to make earworms. That's what we're good.
They sure do. The Brain Sturgeon gives €2 and says, well, there went my question. Donated anyway.
Oh, thank you, Brain Sturgeon.
There you go. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, High on Life's was anticlimactic. Not that it cares.
At that end.
Yeah, I guess so.
I never finished High on Life.
Well, I guess now you needn't bother.
No, I think it came out before Christmas, and I started playing it, and then Christmas happened. I'm like, I'm not going back to it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, and then the thing came through, and I was like, oh, now I morally don't have to finish. That's good too.
Tommy Salty gives 10 PLNs and says Far Cry 3 and 4 had great endings. Moral ambiguity.
Was it ambiguous? At least
morally,
for 3. At least for 3. You kind of
3 was morally ambiguous in that there were 2 endings. One of them was where you were being an asshole, and the other one where you weren't.
So.
Far Cry 4? Sure.
Yeah. So
I kind of missed the full intended ending of Far Cry 4 because at the very end you walk into like the dude's dinner and says, "If you've come here to kill me, just do it now." So I did. I just shot him in the face, and then the game ended. And I was like, "Oh, well, that felt anticlimactic." And it turns out there's more that comes after that. You're supposed to hold out for.
Is that not the same game where you could end the game at the start of the game?
That's the very one, yes. And the actual ending you get feels very similar to the ending you get if you like just wait 15 minutes at the start of the game.
Oh, all right. I wonder how many times you could have opted out. Sounds like you could have done it twice at least.
I mean, in most games, theoretically, the main character could just bugger off at any time.
That's me.
It's one of the things I like about Silent Hill 2, in that James Sunderland could bugger off out of Silent Hill whenever he wants, but he doesn't because he's torturing himself.
Classic James.
That's the clue. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, controversial, but Far Cry 5's nuclear apocalypse felt like you wasted your time, but at least you died trying to do the right thing, saving your friends.
I actually like that ending.
And then Far Cry New Dawn came out, and it turned out everyone was still alive somehow.
A little Mad Max. It's fine. Is that game like canonical? Like that's supposed to be like an actual canonical sequel?
Yes, it is. In fact, the main character of Far Cry 5 shows up in New Dawn as a non-playable character.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wearing a mask, so you don't know it doesn't mess with whatever appearance you chose.
Smart.
Faz gives £9.99 and says, while being a good sci-fi detective experience, Nobody Wants to Die trips over itself at the end. Without spoiling, the ending forgets about wrapping up the whodunit and tries to mess with your head poorly. Well, that's a very new game, Faz.
That is, and which I know we're going to have a bite-sized of by Jess at some point in the near future. I don't know anything. This came out while I was on vacation. What is this game? This wasn't one of my vacation games.
It was. It's like a heavily story-focused detective game. Apparently, I haven't played it.
I've been playing a lot of Dungeons of Hindenburg, and I've been playing a lot of Mitsugami.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Hindenburg. I'm going to review that.
Oh,
are
you going to use the B word throughout your review?
There's a lot of things I'm going to criticize it for, but at the end of the day, it's like I woke up each morning going, ooh, I'm looking forward to playing more Dungeons of Hindenburg today, and that's all you can ask for, really.
There you go.
That's good.
Did you make friends with the dog?
Certainly did.
What'd you
How else do you find? You have to. There's that whole dungeon you can't find if you don't make friends with the dog.
Oh, I didn't know if it was an optional one or not. I did that.
So dungeon. You didn't make friends with the dog?
No, I did make friends with the dog, and I did that dungeon. I just haven't finished the game. I'm only on like day 15.
Well, you finished the game by doing all the dungeons.
I haven't finished all the dungeons yet.
Well,
I was too busy exploring my own dungeons in Punta Cana. I didn't go to any dungeons.
That's an innuendo.
That sounded like a sex thing, but it wasn't. It was just where I was.
It really does.
Where I was.
Jackson Jewell, member for 8 months in the Green Gang, says, missed last week due to my birthday. Happy 8 months.
Happy birthday.
So from their perspective, Marty has been here all along.
Oh my God. I didn't even know what the topic was. Oh, no, it was like developers, right? Like individuals.
Yes.
Developers and studios we like, yeah.
Developers we like, who we've met.
That's great.
They booked their hair, their Dunkelheit, gives €5 and says, no, ending is also an ending. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ending on closing the portals and losing Eli, a bittersweet ending. I don't need Episode 3 to see us cleaning up Earth.
I mean, that's not an ending, though. That's like it feels like an inhale.
I don't think we actually did close the portals, though, did we, in that game?
Yeah.
It was ambiguous. Matthew Muir gives $5 and says, I considered Ys 8 a masterpiece up until its ending. Tacking on the Ys world is some random goddess's dream at the end was just dumb.
Ys?
Ys. Yeah, it's our RPG series. Wise. Just a big old Y.
Okay.
I always say Ys.
I believe Ys is the pronunciation, but it's just a weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that game. Look at it go.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, you want an ending done right? Look at Majora's Mask, where in the credits it shows you all the people you've helped, if you've 100%ed the game, that is.
Yeah. And then again, Link's got to leave. Link doesn't have a place. Can't go to Hyrule anymore because he's too young. Can't live in this place anymore because it ain't real.
I didn't realize Hyrule was like a fucking roller coaster with a fucking height restriction board.
I didn't mean he was too young. I meant like he doesn't like the world that his world of Hyrule isn't the world that he experienced throughout Ocarina of Time. He's like, I became an adult and now I'm a child again. What the fuck do I do?
Really kick ass at spelling bees.
I was going to say, relive your life. Go for it.
But he didn't learn anything. He must have been a very dumb adult because he was like mentally an 8-year-old in the body of like a 20-year-old.
So he was like Shazam.
Yeah, he was like frozen in stasis. Yeah, for when he pulls out the sword and it comes out. Yeah.
Or Lion-O in Thundercats.
Yeah, just big
Remember
idiot.
in the pilot, he was the one whose cryonic freezer didn't work properly, so he had the mind of a child in the body of an adult.
See, tough life to live.
Somehow, a really buff adult. Guess got a lot of sit-ups done while he was in cryonic preservation.
There you go.
Anyway, Hjorth87 gives 20 Danish krona and says, Cyberpunk 2077 really hit me. Bittersweet, but done right.
I take it they off themselves as well.
There's
Everyone
a
loves
few
their suicide.
endings. There's a few in Cyberpunk.
I guess there was also like the actual endings of the Phantom Liberty. I don't know if that was like a post game thing or a mid game thing.
Is there
Yeah,
one
it's
where
probably
I can death grip a jellyfish and donate my organs?
All you want to do?
No. All right.
Party Pirate, member for 1 month in the Green Gang, a newbie, who
Ooh,
says
thank
Endwalker, good, wrapping Final Fantasy XIV's initial story arc.
Yeah, that's one of those again. Like, can like a World of Warcraft, can an ongoing game have a good ending? Can a Destiny?
No.
Can I guess those are like the equivalent of like good season finales,
I suppose.
right? There's no series finale for any of these things.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Breaking Bad wouldn't be Breaking Bad without that very decisive ending.
Yeah, agreed.
The Bukta Herr der Dunkelheit gives €5 and says Midnight Mercenaries has a great ending. You're stuck in a room with a nuke, and the only way to end the game is to give up instead of respawn.
The hell's Midnight Mercenaries?
Yeah, what are they
I don't know.
accomplishing here? Hold on.
Is this a made up game?
It's the made up game. No.
Made by German Peter. A
Hey.
Team Fortress 2 crossed Hotline Miami fan game.
What?
This is your game.
So-
yeah, it's
It looks like Hotline Miami, but it is a Team Fortress story.
That's wacky.
Yeah. Learning a lot.
wow.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, as much as I like Infamous Second Son, yes, I'm weird, it does make the ending of Infamous 2 feel silly, considering Sucker Punch wanted a sequel for PS4. Yeah, that's another of those should have left well enough alone sequels,
Yeah.
ruining a perfectly good ending.
Put Infamous 1 and 2 on modern consoles and PC, please.
Yes, and Bloodborne while you're at it.
Please and thank you.
Get it all up there with a big shovel. Hjort87 gave us 50 Danish kroner and says, original Fallout 3 was odd. You had to enter a radiated chamber because of story. Even if your companion was immune to radiation, DLC salvaged it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
know.
is
I
golly.
said all that.
Somebody is a
That is
Star Trek
funny.
fan. You gotta get in there.
The needs of the many.
What of them? Needy people. They decide
Fuck.
my game endings.
Fox D comes back with $2 and says the game was pro wrestling on the NES. Oh,
I
thank
miss
you.
when a game could just be called a sport, just like an activity.
Pro anything, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, what if we just had a game called Gun, but there was a
There
literal
was a
cowboy.
game called Gun. There was a movie called Gun as well with 50 Cent and Val Kilmer. What a strange time.
Big two.
As to the episodic ending or seasonals, how do we feel of the Assassin's Creed ones after they've left Desmond? How do those end?
Well, most of them end.
4 of
Oh,
Black Flag.
Well, the standard Assassin's Creed ending is historical protagonist goes into weird alien spaceship, has a weird epiphany stroke revelation, and then walks out again.
Right. Sure, but by Black Flag, you were like working for a movie production studio.
And then the person in the future goes, "Oh, that was interesting," and then the credits roll.
The end.
There you
go. Tyrell 007, member for 5 months in ad-free podcasts, says cliffhanger endings with a later cancelled sequels, probably the worst perpetrator of them all. IMO.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's like, oh well, they intended on something good to happen, but
Hmm.
womp womp.
Intended to cash in again.
They intended to still be able to make
Oh no, we don't get to make money.
Yeah.
Blank gives $2 and says the Stanley Parable ending was pretty good. I mean, I wasn't aware that the Stanley Parable had an ending. For the end is the beginning, is the end, is the beginning.
Beardless Marty.
Is the end.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, put it away. It frightens me.
What is it?
Baby faced Marty.
Eric's put a filter on you.
You monster.
To take your beard away. And now you look weird.
Could you?
Little Roger Ebert on you.
You look like the illegitimate child of Roger Ebert and Dan Aykroyd.
The big two.
Mm-hmm. Hot and steamy.
Hubba hubba.
Mr. Sadface gives $5 and says, Bloodborne's endings are sudden and not amazing, but I still am satisfied by all of them.
Bloodborne's just
I don't know. I wasn't terribly satisfied with being turned into a slug.
So that's the ending you got. Okay.
Yeah,
Didn't
that's the
get
one
the
you have to.
umbilicals, did you?
No, the slug ending is the one you get if you do eat the umbilicals.
Don't eat them then. There you go. Why'd you eat them?
Yeah,
They're all good.
because the FAQ said I had to get the ending.
Yeah, I figured that's whenever I ask you why you blanked something in a game, it's usually they told me to.
Yeah. Fucking white phosphorus and Spec Ops the Line all over again.
It told
was
me to.
your
What else was I
idea.
supposed to do?
That was your idea, you asshole. Hunter Road gives $5 and says, I'm surprised nobody's brought up Halo 2's ending. Game just kind of stops as the story starts to ramp up.
Yep,
Man
that was
of money.
definitely yeah, and that was definitely this thing we'll keep making these games, so we'll finish the story next time.
Yeah, I never played that one. Wait, was Halo 3 the one that starts with Master Chief falling out of space and landing on a planet? So I assume Halo 2 ends with him being lost in space.
We're getting ready to finish the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. Hjorth87 gives 20 Danish kroner and says, Fallout slides pretty neat. IMO wraps it all up.
Fallout slides?
Yeah,
like slides like that.
Yeah.
Is what
Little
happened.
text
everyone.
slides
Gotcha.
saying what happened to everyone.
Yeah, I think
And
that's an
then-
easy way to do it.
And then gives $20 and says, assume this is from Tsunami Dusha.
Tsunami Dusher said that for some reason YouTube was being a jerk and that they couldn't submit their usual $20.
Oh,
So Quintuple
that's
A did it
nice.
for them. Look at that.
thanks for taking that one for the team. Papa Panara gives $199 and says, Shadow of War had a pretty subpar epilogue. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Papa Panara, because I was thinking of going back to that game to finally finish it, because I remembered when you get to the story end, the game goes, right, now you have to do a big old gameplay grind to get to the actual story end, and I couldn't be bothered.
I never finished either of the games. I enjoyed them while playing them and then just eventually stopped.
I own them
Yes.
and haven't touched them for some reason. Because people tell me they're great, right? So I'm just waiting for a nice anniversary to pop up with this vintage game, and now it's outdated.
Yeah, they're good. I'd still say they're good. I still like the orc mechanics.
Yeah,
But neither of them had endings that one would write home about. Palash Teague is 199 says Mafia 2 ended as abruptly as it gets. Is that the one where it ends with you getting shot by? No, wait. That's Mafia 1.
So is those mobsters in it?
Yeah.
Just don't know how to end anything. They just shoot the ending.
Well, they've always got to do the same ending that every gangster story has. It's like, oh yeah, you got famous and rich, but at what cost?
Sure.
This bullet.
Yes, and then the world you embraced turned against you and shot you in the face because that's how it works.
So you just want a gangster story where you get famous and rich, and damn, everything worked out fine.
Yeah, that was Mafia 3, wasn't it? I think in Mafia 3, your character's fate is left ambiguous.
Oh, gotcha. I know there were some DLCs. I don't know if that changed things.
I don't know. Fungus Finder gives $2 and says Outer Wilds ending was bittersweet. Happy sad.
Really great ending. Agreed.
I don't think Happy Sad's going to take off out of Fungus
real
Finder.
happy sad.
If I'm honest,
I think that's already a term. I feel like I've heard happy sad.
Happy sad is definitely a term.
it smacks of newspeak from Orwell's 1984. You know, double plus ungood and all that.
It's what too much reading does to you, man. That's a masterpiece.
You're one of those assholes who denigrates people for reading books, are you?
No, because I used to read them, but I hide it. I still read.
Anti-intellectualism, that's what it is. Plain and simple.
I have a Ray Bradbury book on my nightstand.
Bully for you. It only counts if you actually read it, though.
I did. I read about what was it?
Well, why is it still on your nightstand then?
Because that's where I go for reading.
It's sleepy time reading.
And to kill the spiders in my sleep.
I just chew them. when they enter my mouth.
No wonder yeah. You're where that statistic comes from. The average human eats 10 spiders in a year.
Most people don't eat any spiders. I'm just dragging the average up. Palash Teague is $4.99 and says open world games with an explosive final level, but then they just throw you back into the world and nothing has changed. Oh, okay, guess I'm done. Anticlimax. Yeah, that's what I said.
Agreed.
Because you want to feel like you've had some kind of impact on the world, don't you? That's why I like games where if you kill all the enemies in an area, enemies stop being in that area.
Yeah.
Feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah, I was playing Cat Quest 3. Every time you like spawn every now and again, everything comes back, and I was like, it feels like I'm just here. It's just instanced.
Oh, Eric's trying to preempt us bringing up Undertale at this point. Well, joke's on you, Eric. I wasn't going to bring up Undertale.
But now that
I've
you
never
mentioned
even played it.
I think that's why I don't jive with MMOs. You go through so much, but then you look behind you and it's another queue of people doing exactly what you did. You killed the same dragons and saved the same villages I did.
Frog42 gives $10. Does have to catch this later, but I love you guys. Can each of you give a quote from a game end or near end that stuck with you?
There was a hole here, but it's gone now. That wasn't from the end.
That wasn't from the end, you idiot.
But I like it.
Yeah, I'm
the last line in Silent Hill 2 is, James, you made me happy.
Oh, that's a nice last line.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that then.
I was thinking war never changes, but I'm pretty sure that's like at the start.
Yeah, that's the very start. That's the very first line in Fallout.
Yeah.
I like how you can intercut the opening of Fallout with the opening of Metal Gear Solid 4, and it sounds like they're having an argument. War never changes. War has changed. War never changes. War has changed.
They're just arguing with each other. They just keep arguing with each other.
Alex Armstrong comes back with $5 and says, AER, Memories of Old, God knows what the fuck that stands for, had an ending about ending the world, left aftermath up to interpretation, and all context about it is in flavor text. I was like, raised eyebrow emoji?
Is this a real game? We're learning about a lot of games that don't sound real but are real.
2017. AER,
oh, that's
Memories
nice.
of Old. Transform into a bird and fly to explore and experience the vibrant world of floating islands in the sky.
I like being a bird.
Oh.
This was like Journey in the air.
That was Sky. That was the game they made after Journey.
Frog42 gives $5. Says, also have an extra dono because my boyfriend's birthday is tomorrow and I want to give an extra gift.
HBD.
So, wait, giving us money is a gift for your boyfriend?
Don't fix the logic. It's fine.
Yeah.
I guess your boyfriend really likes Second Wind. Well, he should.
Thank you, Frog's boyfriend. Do you think Frog's boyfriend's named Toad?
That's a good book. See, I used to read.
No, I've read that book relatively recently because my kids have it. They love the voices I put on.
Oh, go on. Give us your Frog.
Well, I put on a slightly earnest voice for Frog, and then I put on a sort of stolid, not a kind of done with this shit voice for Toad.
That's good.
That's my new Patreon tier is Yahtzee reads nighttime books. Nighttime books for your young ones.
They made the ice cream in that. It looks so good.
Dimitri gives $5 Canadian and says, I'm tied between that one ending in Spec Ops: The Line where Walker guns down the American soldiers that came to save him and the suicide one.
They're both really good. I like all the endings of that game.
I think all the games that have a suicide ending should get together and have a big fight. And whoever dies first wins.
Last to kill themselves loses.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. To imagine there's a thing there. First to suicide. BioShock Infinite. Does that count?
Yeah, sure. I'd say so.
It kind of just gives up.
Silent Hill 2, Spec Ops: The Line, The Medium. That's a suicide ending, isn't it? That's a suicide gunshot fade to black ending.
Yeah.
No.
Halo Reach. There you go. Everyone, let's compile all those suicide games somewhere. Just to cheer everyone up.
Feel-good
Beneath
video of the
one,
year.
beneath 1111 gives 100 Swedish krona and says, now the ending of Rob Blank 3 from the acclaimed Rob Blank series was weird, like the creator kind of got up into himself. From the self-insert, that weird green hair quest joke and overall the final act. Yes, this is one of the first games I made when I was a
It's
dumb
you.
teenager. And it was a shitty game.
Says you. It looks nice.
What? I like to think I'm the authority on these things.
There's a place called Tosspot Manor in it.
There you go. Buff Fall Guy, welcome to the Green Gang. And then Chai Sai Up gives 5 Canadians and say Metal Gear Revengeance had a great ending. You get to fist fight a senator while he talks about how war is great. Then you kick his ass.
You rip his fucking heart out. It's great.
Sure.
Democracy at work.
Fox Steeg is $5. Says, okay, Eric, here's your green super chat. Make with the clean shaven Yahtzee and Frost. Oh, no, you don't.
Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh, it's made my beard into my chin. Jesus.
With the clean shaven and the hat, you look a little like LL Cool J.
I'm gooning. Look at
I'm
this.
gooning. Straight
It's the
gooning.
bat. Hey,
Oh,
boys.
God.
Jesus.
It's a bat.
It's the bat.
I don't need to know how I look without a beard. Thank you very much. Because I know how I look without a beard. I look like my mum. And
Yeah.
that's not something I want to see.
Yeah, you brought up your trauma when we were talking jawlines.
There you go. Bob Fogg. Let me just thoughtfully rub my chin while I do the rest of these super chats. Bob Fogg gives £5 and says, how did you feel about joke endings akin to that of Castle Crashers? You know
I
what?
don't
I don't think
remember
I
how
ever
it
saw
ended.
the ending of. I don't think I ever saw the ending of Castle Crashers.
Yeah,
'Cause every
didn't you
time I
bring it
played
up earlier,
Castle
too?
Crashers, I've seen the start of Castle Crashers like a million times. Because every time I had friends around, I'd say, "Hey, you know what's a fun game to play together? Castle Crashers. Let's have a play of that." And then I'd just never gotten to the ending.
That's sad. No friendship lasted that long. I finished the game twice. I don't remember how it ended.
I don't think I think Yahtzee. I think I was in the same boat as you, where that's a game I started a bunch and I don't recall ever finishing it. Which I guess is that's like classic party or I guess arcade game almost. Like I played the beginning of this game a bunch, but I usually run out of money halfway through.
That filter is good. Not
Oh,
good
stop.
in what it does, but
Oh, pack it in, Eric. Bob Fock. I don't know one. SVS Guru 2000 gives €5 and says, War never changes versus War has changed. Will never be as good as It's a fake versus It's real. Referencing moments from quotable moments from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I believe.
Never heard of it.
Chris LaHague is $2 and says, I would play Yards Reads kids' books to my small.
See?
Well, we know people go to sleep listening to my 4-hour compilations.
there you go.
There's just something about my voice that some people find quite soporific, apparently. Hi, Toffee.
Oh, he's a puppy.
You got a filter that makes Toffee look like he doesn't have any fur.
Dog.
Imagine.
Dog.
Imagine.
He's just
I
going
don't
to
think
sit
that's real.
on that cushion down there. Ben Abraham gives $4.99 and says, Marty, 1, tell us how you make a Wisconsin old-fashioned. 2, then make it into a no true Scotsman about Wisconsinites.
Oh God, I can do the first half.
What is
You
it?
take maraschino cherries, orange slices, a sugar cube, and a little bitters. You muddle them in the bottom of a glass, and then you add ice and a little bit of like 7-Up or Sprite.
Oh.
And then you garnish with another full maraschino cherry or orange slice.
Oh.
Is there a difference between 7-Up and Sprite?
I don't taste the difference between Coke and Pepsi, if I'm being honest.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah,
I like Coke and I hate Pepsi.
yeah.
Pepsi just tastes wrong. The aftertaste is completely off.
We know
Who
who
is
you
this
voted
anyway?
for. Yeah, there's a bit of a zest, a bit of more of tang to a 7-Up.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed you can just build the drink by name.
It's
not thinking
but brandy old fashions are like every Friday fish. Wisconsin's big on Friday fish fries. Like every restaurant and bar has a Friday fish fry. That's what everyone eats on Fridays.
Oh,
And like the drink of choice with all of them is brandy old fashions. So
Actually, there's a Coke I prefer over Coca-Cola. There's a Coke I can get at the Whole Foods that's called Grown Up Soda, or Gus. And they do a Coke that's like low sugar,
oh, interesting.
and it's actually really good. I'm very fond of
Gus.
it.
Grown up soda. Look at that thing. These look like a jelly bean.
If you say so.
The packaging, yeah.
But yeah, also it's quite sugary.
I'm just a crystal clear Pepsi guy.
Says
all I
not
want.
too sweet. 95 calories is about yeah. A Coke's about 180.
Yeah.
And in terms of a no true Scotsman about Wisconsin, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think I've already forgotten what a no true Scotsman was because we haven't talked about it every week. No
Well,
true
if you-
Scotsman.
Well, let's say that one of your old fashions is made with 7-Up and one of them is made with Sprite. Which would you say is the one drunk by no true Wisconsinite?
Oh, no true Wisconsinite would have one with 7-Up.
There you go.
7-Up is the poser. Okay.
I don't know. They're both just the same in my mind.
Oh, is there one that you absolutely? It's like, all right, you're not from here. You're from.
No,
Like if you put in
it's based
fucking-
on like what the bars have, and I think
Like if they
most
put
bars have
ginger
Coke
ale or
products.
something.
I think.
you know?
Yeah. If you make a Wisconsinite with grapefruit squirt or something.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh God.
Chris LaHague is $5 and says, "Have you told Marty about the No True Scotsman clue from last Sunday's New York Times crossword
Fuck
puzzle?"
out of here. Was it in the Sunday puzzle?
It was.
Yes, there was a puzzle a couple of weeks back where like the theme was logical fallacies, and one of
Oh,
the long
no.
clues answers was No True Scotsman.
Yep.
God.
It was last Monday. You weren't here.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I like doing the mini crossword. Makes me feel good because I can solve it in like 35 seconds.
Yeah.
My record is 12 for the
Get the
mini.
fuck out of 12 seconds.
Yeah,
You got fast fingers.
I just don't pay for the full
and a
subscription.
fast brain.
It's the mini.
Did I mention I've memorized all 50 states?
America.
Oh, I heard.
Yeah.
We don't like them
I
all.
was-
Why do we need this?
I use an online quiz, and now I've completely committed to memory every single state of America. I bet if you bring up the outline of any state in America, I could probably tell you what it is now.
If I brought up the outline, all right, like straight
Eric?
on the left end, and then a flat end at the bottom, and then this little squiggly negative correlation trend.
Well, that could be a few. That could be Pennsylvania. If it's got like little stairs at the bottom, it's New Mexico.
He's
Ah,
got
the
it.
old New Mexico steps.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two square ones are Wyoming and Colorado, and you remember Colorado is the one that's more centralized because it starts with a C.
Genius.
Oh, that'll come through. I know the
Louis-
coastals, and then everything around the over here. I'm like, yeah, I don't need those. There's no one there.
I even memorized all the fiddly little ones in the northeast.
Love the fiddly. though.
Vermont is the one that's kind of shaped like a V.
Oh, is that why it's called that?
Probably.
Uh,
And Delaware is the one that's really small and titchy, so you'd be hard pressed to be aware of it.
Clever.
Anyway. Fungus Finding is $2 and says, "How great was the ending of Lost, guys?"
Oh my God, it was so good. The zoom in, back in on Jack Shepard's eye as he lays down in the jungle, exactly where we saw him 6 years ago.
what? That's how it ends.
Spoilers. Well, that's the last shot. You know, it doesn't explain the ending.
Sure. I just got done watching House again. I was like, you know what? If that had been made earlier or nowadays, they would definitely go for the spinoff or have a young House or just see what happens. The last season of what he's
Oh.
doing while Wilson's dying.
Young House.
Who would you cast as young House?
It would just be
Who-
Chase. Just be Dr. Chase.
Okay. I mean, I was trying to think of this kind of sort of roles
like
Hugh
a
Laurie
young
had when
Hugh
he was
Laurie.
younger. Yeah.
God. I mean, isn't the Good Doctor kind of supposed to be him in a sense? It's the same writer,
I don't know.
same style of like, I can't help but not tell the truth.
I mean,
Well,
young Hugh Laurie was kind of skinny and weird looking. He played Bertie Wooster in Jeeves and Wooster.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's weird looking at him there.
SVS Guru 2000 gives €5 and says Pepsi has a tooth filling aftershave. At least when I last tried it 20 years ago. You know, that was my thought when I first tried root beer. When I first tried root beer, my thought was this tastes like dental adhesive.
That's sassafras for you. Yeah, it's medical.
Yeah. Chai Sai Up gives $2 says, did you already discuss the end of Mass Effect 3? I'm afraid we did, Chai Sai Up.
Oh, was your bone the alien?
Eat the bone stuff in that game?
Well, you do that way before the ending of Mass Effect.
That's where I walked away. I'm like, oh.
That's where it ended for me.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite alien to bone?
Great question.
Jabba Dabba.
Hey, guess what? You can bone all the aliens in Starstruck Vagabond. Not a single unbonable alien in sight. Well, you can't bone Dripberg.
Why not?
But everyone you take on board as a crew member, you can bone.
False advertising.
Bob Fock gives £5 and says, at the end of Castle Crashers, the princess you kiss turns out to be a clown and the sailor's hornpipe plays while cartoon penguins cover the screen.
Oh.
Well, I guess that's another of those you had to be there moments.
Yeah, I was pretty spot on. That's
like a hot clown?
That's another like slapformer, yeah.
I think of the end of every level in Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. Where instead of the Toady Boy saying, our princess is in another castle, you see Mario walk up to Daisy, and the Daisy goes, thank you, Mario. And Mario goes, oh, Daisy. And then Daisy turns into a monster and jumps away while scary music plays.
You just keep saving a bunch of monsters, you idiot.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the intended message was from that. Maybe Mario's hallucinating. That was my interpretation.
He's in a weird land. Isn't one of the levels like a big robot version of him? That might have been more Mario Land 2.
I don't think that... No, I think that was Land. Anyway... Fox D gives $2 and says Coke has a battery acid aftertaste.
Damn, people
if you've got
if
your sense of taste is all wrong, perhaps
it's just sweeter.
Well, admittedly, I'm British and therefore eat everything with vinegar.
Yeah, I don't think there's vinegar in there.
Possible I'm used to acidic tastes.
There you go.
Same. I don't like Pepsi either. It tastes like a flat Coke that was left sitting in the car, and then you.
I know what you mean. It doesn't quite have the twang.
I feel insane.
It's like drinking Pepsi is like listening to a rock song that never kicks in. Like you drink Coke. Yeah, like you drink Coke and that kicks in. You get a lovely chorus at the end of your mouthful there. But Pepsi is just sort of, let's just get back to the start of the first verse.
The official drink of edging.
Yeah, it feels like the start of drinking a Pepsi feels like the end. There was no like, ooh, it was just whole way through.
It didn't have that aha moment.
Yeah, that they do in the commercials,
Yeah. Dimitri gives $5 and says, before this is over, Borderlands 3 ending was so awful that it was responsible for my one and only laugh from that game. It's hilariously bad.
What was that? The podcasters, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's the two like influencers. I think 2's was really good. God.
And then Rose Delta gives $2 and says, does Dripberg get disbarred if we bone him?
That's a
Not from that, no.
Does Dripberg get disbarred if we bone him? What a bizarre, out of context sentence. If you were here a few minutes ago.
Yes, I guess you'll all have to buy Starstruck Vagabond to figure out what Rose Delta's talking about.
There you go.
All right. That's the last super chat. So I guess we'll wrap things up. Yes, Toffee's giving me that expectant look that says he would like to go out now. Though he's already had his walk, so I don't know what he thinks he's going to get. I'm Yahtzee Crowshaw. I believe I mentioned that. Stick around this week, because on Wednesday, the long-awaited, fully Ramblematic, that is the Patreon subscribers voted in retro review, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Now you will get to find out what I think of that game if you tune in on Wednesday for Fully Ramblematic.
I bet you liked it.
Is that what you think?
I guess you go to.
That's how interesting that you should think that.
Oh no.
And of course, Yahtzee tries the same day in the afternoon. And then I have a semi-emblematic dropping on Thursday. And you'd better watch all my... Get your bum out of the camera, Toffee, you indecent little thing. You'd better appreciate my videos this week, because next week there will be no Yahtzee content on Second Wind whatsoever.
You're going to be the one faffing about on holiday, am I right?
Marty's holiday was last week, and mine is next week. I'm going to
Ooh,
the seaside
We're taking shifts here.
for the whole week.
Incredible.
So I won't be around next week. You'll probably have to get someone else in for this podcast, but I will be back the following week.
Who's your video game idol? We'll get Lucas Pope drop in.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Don't
do
really
that.
disappoint you.
Guess where you're going.
Right. What do you two got to plug?
Let's see here. Just dropped a Cold Take. Go watch that. Talking about my burning love for Sean Murray. What a lad. What a lad. And see here. Better with Friends tomorrow. Well, I think it'd be apt to actually try out No Man's Sky. That's what Will and I are going to do. See how long it's come through since its release in 2016. Dear God, it's almost been 10 years. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Marty, what else we got?
Yeah, we'll have later today at 6 p.m. the Hidden Gems crew will be back playing the first Spark the Electric Jester game. I believe we have all three of them, and Casey's going to play 1, 2, and 3. Those are the games that it starts off very much inspired by 2D Sonic the Hedgehog, and then by the end of it is inspired by 3D Sonic the Hedgehog. But apparently 3
is Spark the Electric Jester the name or an instruction?
It's a very good question. It is the name of the game. Like Sonic the Hedgehog, it is Spark the Electric Jester. Could have just been Spark the Jester, I guess. But I guess we'll find out why he's electric.
Clearly, by having a whole extra adjective in there, the student has become the master.
There you go. And then, yeah, normal streams the rest of the week. And tomorrow, remember, if you're in the Phoenix tier at 3 p.m. Central, we're going to be doing our monthly Patreon movie hang night in Discord. We're going to be watching Dick Tracy. Get a little Al Pacino in your life. A little Warren Beatty.
It's a good thing you finished that sentence.
Get a little Dick in your life.
Yeah, we're going to watch Dick.
Tracy's Dick. It's going to be great.
You ever watch Porn with Friends?
Porn with Friends?
Porn with Friends. I've been at a porn watching party. Everyone just drinks and takes the piss.
How did we?
No. I've heard the one the Beatles had together, and that Lennon, because he's a bit of a scamp, everyone would start shouting names of attractive women, and Lennon would throw out like prime ministers.
Classic Lennon.
Yeah.
Vintage Lennon goof.
All right, that'll be it from us. See you next time.
Is that better with friends?
See you on Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.